Hello. One of the things I've been thinking about lately is the amount of innovation in a game, and specifically with Neverending Nightmares. So, to give a little background, Neverending Nightmares was basically going to be my swan song, my one last hurrah at indie game development, and there was a very real chance, and it almost happened that the Kickstarter wasn't funded, and if that were the case, then I would be recording this video. Neverending Nightmares wouldn't have been made, and I would have had to find a job doing something other than indie development, and certainly, while the future success of Infinitap Games is still a question mark, I think we may be able to, at least in conjunction with the Kickstarter, do another project, at least one more project. Hopefully we'll be able to do multiple projects, because I think I've said it more, is basically, to me, the measure of success as an indie game developer is that you have enough runway for one failure and you can still keep making games. So essentially, you want to make a game that earns you enough money to finance the next 2 games, because then basically if one game doesn't turn out, or economics change, or you really have to shift gears, then basically you can weather that storm. You can have a retrograde, but still, keep the lights on at your company. And I would say that Neverending Nightmares has maybe not even given us enough runway to do one more game. We'll probably, again, need some Kickstarter funding. Obviously, the jury's still out, and there's a lot of different ways you can make money off of a game that's just been released. So certainly we're in better shape, now than I was after Retrograde, because, even though Neverending Nightmares isn't super successful, it's much, much more successful than Retrograde, and so the IP is more valuable. It opens some more doors for things we could potentially do. As well, we tried to design the tech such that we had the opportunity to move the game to different platforms if we wanted to, and I don't know if that's something we're interested in doing, but with Retrograde, a lot of people said, "Oh man, I'd love to see this on Vita," and we wanted to do a Mac and Linux versions, but it definitely did not seem feasible or worthwhile from a technical perspective. So obviously we have some doors open to us, but we're not super stable, doing super excellently, which, is unfortunate, but you can't complain too much if you can, keep doing what you're doing. But one of the things that... Wow, that was a bit of a long-winded segue, but what I was originally trying to say was that because I thought that Neverending Nightmares was going to be my swan song, I wanted to put every interesting idea I had into the game and sort of leave nothing on the table, because then, I've sort of made my contribution to the gaming scene. I've tried these interesting ideas, and, some of them maybe paid off, some of them didn't, but at least I could say that I tried them. And so, maybe a lot of people don't really see Neverending Nightmares as experimental, but I think it is experimental in a number of key ways, and perhaps this sounds like I'm full of myself, but I think a lot of the things that people did not like about Neverending Nightmares were deliberate and experiments that maybe didn't work out quite as well as we had hoped. So certainly the branching endings thing, I've talked about how maybe we don't want to do that in the future, but that was, again, an experiment. I thought it was a really interesting idea. I thought that it would resonate better with people. I was wrong. that's not to say that it was a bad idea or that people didn't appreciate it, but I think probably it's not the best idea going forward. So that was an experiment, and I learned from it. But there were a lot of experiments like that, and I think putting them together, we potentially made something a little too risky for or a little too risky. Sorry, a little riskier than we should have, because again, there's the idea of you know, the branching narrative, the multiple endings, the way we tell a story through nightmares, being very open-ended, the focus on immersion, the refusal of gaming elements, the complete commitment to disempowerment of the player, you know, giving him asthma, things like that. There were a lot of things where we, you know, just the idea of making walking a chore and designing a game around like a 2D game that's just about exploration. I think those were all sort of risky things, and I don't think they all paid off in terms of the general consensus of the game. Now, I think had we been a little less risky and you know, stuck to what was known and what had been done before, we probably could have made something that people have a little more positive view on, and I mean, in general, on average. Certainly, I think a lot of the backers really recognized the cool aspects of the game and really dug it, and I think that that it maybe helped sell the Kickstarter. Although I'm beginning to think that to some extent, if you look at Kickstarter, a lot of it is about selling what it's about. Sorry, starting over. Successful Kickstarters are basically often when you're giving someone something and they know what it is. So if you look at Shovel Knight, I knew what Shovel Knight was from they just had like a 2-minute in-game thing, and you know, people knew it, and Hyper Light Drifter, I think they give you a good idea of what the game's going to be like with their video, and a lot of these, like, you know, Double Fine Adventure, I knew what that was going to be. And so I think somewhat sticking to what is a known quantity is a little bit of an easier pitch. And again, I don't know if this is true. And certainly that's not the way I viewed Kickstarter when we were doing Neverending Nightmares. I felt like I needed to create the most cutting-edge experimental game ever. But I think for the next product, we're still going to experiment, we're still going to create something new and different, but I think we're probably going to do less experimentation. And I think, and again, you know, part of this is maybe we could have done less experimentation with Neverending Nightmares, but part of it is we have the results from Neverending Nightmares, and so we know what people responded well to and what people didn't. And certainly the atmosphere, that I think was our major success, and I mean, obviously not everyone loved every second of it, but I think most people recognized that it had a really unique atmosphere and a really tense feel to the game. So definitely we want to keep that. Branching narratives, maybe not. I think the aimless sort of wandering, framing the game inside of nightmares, I think that was difficult for people to stomach, and so I think probably the next game we don't want to go that route, and I don't see that as giving up or compromising what I'm making. I see it as basically getting the results of an experiment and improving our process and our development as a result of that. Because the game that I want to make is something really terrifying, something that people love, and I think if we have to give them objectives, then it's still going to be a game that I'm going to be very proud of. It will just be a game that's slightly different than, you know, Neverending Nightmares in that sense. So I think, you know, probably trying to keep the innovations, you know, to a few things rather than a lot of different things, and really taking a stab out in the dark. And certainly there were games that we referenced and stuff, but I mean, I think it's difficult to say Neverending Nightmares is like game X. And maybe I'm full of myself again, but it is different in feel. But now the interesting part is we have the code for Neverending Nightmares. We learn the lessons, and so we can create a game that's like Neverending Nightmares but better. And so I think that's really what we're focusing on now is taking what we did right and trying to do more of it, and improving the things that maybe we didn't do quite as well. So that's sort of where I'm at in terms of innovation and development. So anyway, thanks for watching.